What happens?
Go with a theme song, right? That's cue it up. Let's do
Says
this.
we're live.
Oh, there it is. Hey, everybody. I'm Logan Nuggle, and this is the Geeks Rising Podcast Network meetup. The melding of minds, the collective, triumvirate, many other synonyms. So let's go ahead and introduce ourselves. In one of the top corners, wearing glasses and headphones and plaid. Oh, see, there it is.
Okay.
We have Blandrew.
Hello, my name is Blandrew. I make a podcast about creator news and stuff. Thanks for having me, Logan.
Of course. You do a little more than that, and I believe you go by Bandrew on the interwebs.
Yes, I do.
You're the people's champ. You're the host of Bandrew Says Podcast.
Who said that?
It's in the notes. Check the show notes.
The check's on the way. Thanks.
Yes. People's champ, host of Bandrew Says Podcast and the Podcastage YouTube channel. Also, our champion of the Geeks Rising Podcast Network. Bandrew, thank you so much for being here and having us all be a part of the network. In the other corner, also wearing glasses, a sweet sweater, we have Heather. Heather, you are the host of the Sunshine Summit, which is a spinoff from your podcast, Sunshine and Power Cuts. Heather, you are the kind and heartness of our group. Thank you for being here, Heather.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be here. Hey, everyone.
All right. I think that leaves the two Rumble in the Jungle, the two kings of comedy. Wait, that's not what the notes say. We have Zach.
Hello.
He's our on the subject podcast prince, as dubbed in the notes. He is just the man behind all the stuff that goes on the subject. He's our brains of the operation. I'm not gonna take any credit for that. Zach, thank you for coming to the show.
Thanks for having me.
And last, certainly not least, Ben, the voice of everything on the internet, in my opinion. You are the host of a wonderful educational, informational, and fun podcast, the Tourette's Podcast. Ben, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Look at that voice. Just so good. I'm telling you, it's why you're the voice. It says it. It's in the notes. I don't know I can't argue with what's here. I'm sorry.
I'm blushing.
And lastly, we have me, the one bringing a little bit of shine off the old dome. I'm here. I host the podcast with Zach on the subject, and our podcast king, Malcolm, cannot join us. He's too busy being amazing. And we are the on the subject crew. We talk about movies, and I recently came up with a new podcast because I love talking, as indicated so far. I'm hosting a new podcast called Stuck Listening. It's a satire. What?
That's you?
Yeah.
No, I just randomly found it one day. It's pretty good.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. I will send you Venmo soon. It's a new podcast. It's a satire on the podcast genre as a whole. It's set in the apocalypse, which is no way related to 2020 at all. And it's a fun little jokey podcast where I get to do fun voices, outlandish characters, and chat with my other friend Cody, who is also not pictured here off screen. So thank you all for coming. I'm so excited to do this again. It's been a minute.
Yeah.
It's been over a year.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the word. Not a minute. I always get those confused. One
But
minute.
to be fair, the last 6 months, they don't exist. I mean,
No.
it's been a day, a week, 6 months. Who knows?
A
And we
decade?
did
Is
hang out on
that?
the Sunshine Summit a couple of times.
Yeah.
Various groups of us.
Yeah, this is like all the people coming together from one direction or another. I'm glad we're all here now. We all represent a part of the Geeks Rising Network, and it's awesome.
And the One Direction fan club. Because you said we're One Direction. Yeah.
That's you?
That's
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. I'm a member. I had no idea.
Yeah, I stumbled upon it on the internet one day. So let's talk. I first announced my podcast, but let's talk about what's everyone been working on. Let's start with Heather.
This week is Mental Health Awareness Week here in New Zealand, so I've been doing a bunch of live streams, kind of like the Sunshine Summit, but not connecting with well-being and mental health, and it's been fun.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. I think that's really great that you're always aware of what's going on and being a part of like movements. And I think mental health awareness, especially during 2020, is super important. And I'm really glad that you're like bringing that up.
Yeah, the theme for this week is reimagine your well-being, which is kind of a good way of looking at it because this year has changed so much for everyone. How where you are, whether you're going out to work or not anymore, how you're able to connect with people, all of those things have changed. So I think it's a really good theme, and it's been fun sharing ideas and what people are doing to look after themselves.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect conversation to be having about how you are like reimagining like what it is, what is well-being in the workplace, at home, when those things are intermingled and you aren't able to go out or travel. Like, how do you maintain your well-being during that time? I think that's really awesome. Yeah. Andrew, what's going on?
Nothing new, really. I'm still just making a review video about microphones. I make a creator news analysis show when there's no real creator news analysis or creator news to analyze.
Yeah, I heard it just became a Q&A show.
Yeah, pretty much. It's become a Q&A show, and some people are okay with it, some people are not. And I have had to introduce a new series or a new segment on the show where I have a new contributor, Jim Jorgensen, something like that, and they talk about news headlines and stuff. Yeah.
I briefly, I think I caught that on one of the last ones there. No, I also think you did address the creator news analysis and how you're doing Q&A in the meantime, and I thought you addressed that really well. All jokes aside, and I like Q&A. That's hence us doing this show right now. Yeah, so great job. Well, Zach, what's going on?
Well, as you know, recently we started a new mini series on the subject where we're covering the filmography of Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Who?
Hit record Joe. It's all because of a very bad bit that Malcolm would not stop doing, which I appreciate.
As most of our ideas on the show, they all come from a bit, whether it's recorded or not.
Yeah.
It's called yes-anding too often.
And aside from that, I also recently wrote one of your episodes for your Stuck Listening podcast, which was a lot of fun. Hope I can do that again in the future.
Oh, I that door is wide open. Yes. Ben, what's going on?
Well, so we're between seasons. Season 6 is going to start soon. It's going to be, how's my sibilance, by the way? Pretty harsh? Good?
No,
not at all.
Yeah.
You're good. You're good.
Yeah, so season 6 is coming up, and that'll be, I think, the week of October 9th on, or roughly around there. But we're starting off big. I mean, I just had, I've done a couple interviews so far to prep for it, including, I'll just go ahead and say it. The Podfather, Adam Curry, is going to be the first guest. And we had a great conversation the other day. It was one of the best interviews I've ever gotten to do. He has Tourette syndrome, for people who don't know. He's a name I remember from when I was a kid, like being 7-8 years old and watching MTV. He was the VJ with a leather jacket, and went on to become a pretty heavy part in the creation of podcasting. So it was an honor to have him. And otherwise, yeah, a lot of photography, just kind of filling my days, working at home. Haven't been to my office in a while. And I guess pretty soon, we'll talk about these videos that each of us is doing. But there's a new sort of family member here, another animal. And I guess that's all I can say.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say I'm very excited for when we reveal that. But also, yeah, you're between seasons. Just still, like, everyone should go follow you on Instagram regardless, because you post your nightly walks and your stories, and you have your photography, and It's just really fun to be following you because you have really interesting photography. You talk about it on the show, and also just getting to see your like nightly walks, especially because where I live, like I don't have a well lit street, so I'm envious. You make it look fun, and it's like looks like a film every time you're walking.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's a good mental health exercise in general. Just getting out and walking and looking at things in a different way. And if you have a camera, you can kind of compose things and take something back with you. And that's kind of the idea. At Ben Brown Multimedia is the Instagram handle.
Yes, please go follow right now. Pause this live show and go check it out. And then it says here, Logan, what have you been doing? I started that new podcast that everyone's raving about. All 5 of us. No, I launched a podcast. So I'll back up. Stuck Listening has been like germinating for a while. Ever since I started podcasting in 2015, I like comedy, improv, comic writing, storytelling. I was like, it'd be really interesting to create a podcast that takes every episode seriously, and each episode is a different podcast, or like, but it's more than that. It's like it's episode 99 of this show, and then almost like a creative prompt, like what would episode 99 of that show be, and like taking it very seriously, like there's been 98 listening to it, so you're jumping in and figuring it out. And then this year with my buddy and co-host Cody J, we kind of cracked the code on how to frame this, which is takes place in the post-apocalyptic world, which I did see a comment asking if it would survive. You should listen to find out. But more or less, it's Ezra Phillips. I always want to say the actor. Ezra Phillips, our main character, is held up in an old broadcasting station, and he is going through old tapes as he broadcasts live, trying to survive the apocalypse. And so he's just going through old tapes while broadcasting, hoping to hear some sort of response. And he's just wasting time in the meantime, listening to these old rejected tapes. And the idea is, if this radio station, broadcasting station, got ransacked, these are the tapes that are left. So these are like the rejected bottom of the barrel. So that's where the satire comes into. There's like a premise of these things aren't necessarily meant to be listened to. They were put on the cutting room floor, and Ezra's there left going, well, it's pretty quiet out here. So that's the podcast.
And sometimes it's clear why they were on the cutting room floor. Sometimes the hosts are rough.
There is a reason, yeah. And as a creator, it's more of a fun way to make a satire of taking those things to the next level, being super serious.
Yeah, it's hilarious. Y'all did a really great job with it, and it's super fun seeing the progression where you're taking each of the individual stories.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and so Zach mentioned that he wrote a script for one of the shows. It's actually going to be our season finale, which is coming out on this Saturday. So first season's a little short. We would just want to. It was our first attempt, and we're treating it like a BBC show. You get 6 episodes every 7 years. No, it'll be more frequent than that. But yeah, we wanted a short run and just have fun with it. And Zach contributed a really fun script. So I'm proud of nothing else like getting to do the podcast, like, and collaborate and work on fun, silly stuff.
What did you learn while working on that? Did you learn anything about the creative process?
Yeah.
What did you learn about yourself?
Well, I realized I don't have a lot of voices. I was like, oh yeah, I do a spot on. No, I don't. There's a lot of trial and error of like, can you do a voice for 20 minutes, not just doing like a quote from a character. Mm-hmm. But behind the scenes, we got to see more than doing podcasts where you're interviewing or talking to someone and it's riffing and you kind of just have a loose structure. You're reading a script, there is certain beats and in some ways a lot of like specific lines of dialogue, especially with like a script where it's a radio drama. And then going like, oh yeah, we have to edit sound effects in, edit music cues. But it was also it's like making a movie when you're adding these layers and you're like, oh, this is becoming a real thing, because there were certain episodes we weren't confident in, and as the music started, and we added the sound effects, it became a lot more real, and it was really fun. And so yeah, it was a learning process getting to go through how much goes into like a radio drama like production versus just recording the podcast and making sure everything's level. It's make sure everything's level, adding sound effects. Are these the right ones? Are these cut perfectly, or at least in a funny way? Yeah.
You did such a good job.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah,
Heather, you were on one of our episodes as well, and I just want to say thank you. I don't think you knew what you were in for with those crazy characters that you had to bounce off of.
And we actually got a comment saying, I think we all, this is from Midori Pro Video. She says, I think we all learned that Heather is a voice of reason, even in fiction.
Well, first of all, thanks for listening. But yes, Heather, always. We have the People's Champ and the Voice of Reason. That's the new Heather title. There we go. Yeah, Heather, you were pitch perfect with the recordings, and it's exactly like bouncing off of these two radio jocks that are the worst.
That was something I haven't experienced before, doing a submission like that and not knowing what the actual characters are saying, like just having the lines to read. And it was an amazing thing to be a part of, trying to imagine what the conversation was, and just listening back to it. It was like exciting for me because I didn't know what to expect. So
I'm so glad. Good. Thank you. Yeah. A lot of that is we knew what we wanted the characters to be, and it was kind of improving. It was a lot of that stuff is Cody and I bouncing off of each other and going like, no, just do it again, and we'll just do another.
Make it worse. make it so you hate the character that much worse.
Yeah. Yeah, like
it was great.
The Mundane or Mayhem episode was me having an idea and completely improvising for about 30 minutes. Just going, like Cody was just there to give me the little nudge, and it was just me in character riffing as Donna, and well, we cut Donna out, but
was that was the interview episode about the plane?
Yes.
Could you actually do the voice for us right now?
Yeah, please. Tell us about what you had for breakfast, Donna.
It's Marnie. Well, gosh, breakfast. That was feels so long ago. You know, you wake up and the sun rises, you get ready, and then you just try to see what's going to be good. What's going to be a breakfast that really is going to get me going. And gosh, I usually start with eggs, but we were out of those. So
okay, that's enough.
Well,
if you want 20 minutes of that, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Don't you know?
Don't you know? Yeah.
Don't you know you're in big trouble there, Bobby?
Oh gosh. Oh geez. Yeah. So it's a lot of that. A lot of that, and then deciding what we cut and leave in. But enough about that. Let's move on to. Let's see. Do we have any other questions? I just want to make sure we're not skipping over. No. Okay.
Here I think we answered all the questions in chat, other than don't you know? And I think we all know. I think
we all know. Yeah. I know.
Yeah, we know.
Well, what is it? I would like to go around, since we asked me what I learned. Bandrew, what's something you've learned over the last year, like in particular?
Well, mainly over the last 6 months, something that this is something that I knew prior to the last 6 months and prior to the last year, but it reared its head again, and it's something that I need to constantly remind myself of, and it's that you need to make sure to take care of yourself, and that your audience isn't going to hate you if you say, I need a mental health day. Hey, I'm taking a week off. Hey, I need to take a step back from this. They're going to understand. Or if they don't, then you don't want them in your audience. You want an audience and a community that's supportive of you, and 99.9% of communities are going to be behind you, supporting you if you need to take a step back. So if you need to take some time off, just do it and you won't get hate. So that's something that I had to relearn, to take some time away from social media, take some time away from just the internet as a whole, because it can get very draining. So that's the main thing that I learned and had to relearn.
Yeah, it goes back to it being, in New Zealand, mental health awareness and what well-being is for all of us. And as creators, like content creators, making things, constantly using the internet to make stuff, post stuff, interact with the audience, each other, etc. Yeah, it seems like now more than ever, it's take a step back and remind yourself that you can pause, you can do things, and the pressure to create is something we talk about a lot. Having those like artificial deadlines to give yourself that hustle to get things done, having an audience to keep yourself accountable, but it isn't the end all be all. Like it's a back and forth. And when you can create and foster a really positive community, that's the community you want anyway. And so it's the people that are going to be okay with you pausing and understanding and taking the breaks, or like that's why I like Ben between seasons, and that's what we wanted to do with the new podcast, was have seasons and feel like there is a reason to pause and being allowed to do that built in, so that way hopefully I can get through when it's live. Yeah, so that's great. Heather, is there anything you've learned in the last, as a like content creator? You've been doing a lot more live streams, and a lot of things have changed, so I'm curious what you've learned over the past 6 months.
Sort of on a similar note, and it was from a comment that I got from someone about the impact that you can have might not necessarily be just the content that you make. It's like kind of some of the stuff that's come up in social media, like your presence elsewhere and the things that you do, and you can still have a positive impact and light up the world in different ways. And the content, creating something and content creation, they're kind of two different things. Content is for someone else more, and creating something and having that you can make for yourself, so that you've got that kind of inspiration and drive behind you. So those are some things that I've learned and done over the last year. Yeah.
Awesome. Sorry, I had the mute on. No, that's awesome. Ben, it's good to you. What's in the past 6 months and between seasons and everything, what's something you've learned?
Yeah, it kind of goes into, I guess, what Bandrew was saying about the need to kind of just breathe fresh air and take a break. And, I've been staying in my house since February, working in my house. And, I live in a small town. The most to do, just kind of right outside is just kind of take a walk around. And that's been nice. It's been a good practice to do with the camera and everything. But it's also gotten me, I'm actively shopping for flip phones. Like I'm trying to get out of the smartphone environment, like literally. And I've learned that with my ADHD and everything like that, I feel like I'm wasting so much time on my phone. And every time I put it down, I pick it back up. And I know this is exactly the behavior that, they kind of want, but I put it down. The moment I put it down, I get 2 notifications or something like that. I'm like, okay, better check what that's, let's see what that is in case it's important, and I mean, 100% of the time it's not. It's cool. It could be someone, reaching out or saying something nice, but overall it's not anything I really need to like stay in this cycle to do. I can check my emails at some point in the day. You can still call people with phones, so people can call me too. I'm just really trying to reduce kind of that part of my life and be less, I guess, sort of tech dependent. And I mean, it feels weird to say that, it may be addictive, but I mean, I feel like for all intents and purposes, I'm putting so much time into it and so much, I see an ad and I fall for it. There's this lens on sale or something like that. And I'm like, oh God, I'll never see that price again. And I just go ahead and buy it. It's like, if I hadn't been looking at my phone, like right then at that time, and I know the idea is to get these things in front of my eyes, so I do respond, but it's so much, and it's it feels kind of, I think where before I made excuses for myself, where, you know, I'm like, I need it for my job, or, you know, I couldn't do photography and display my images without it. And like, sure I can, you know, there's plenty I can do from a laptop.
Right.
I just hope I don't, you know, kind of like shift that time into laptop time or something like that. So I'm trying to calibrate myself, but really kind of getting motivated about kind of taking it back, so to speak.
Well, I don't know if I should encourage you or not to watch Social Dilemma, because that's exactly it's a bunch of Silicon Valley types.
Nice, man. What is that? I know we're not, you know, there's no Amazon link, but what is that?
It's an Alcatel Smart Flip or something.
That's what Adam Curry suggested I get.
Yeah. It has I got this before I heard him start talking about him, but it does have the hotspot. Before you dive head first, what I did on my smartphone was just delete all the social media apps off of it. And that helped decrease the usage so much and made using it much more enjoyable. And I also stopped wearing a darn smartwatch where I don't get notifications every 5 seconds on my wrist, just stressing you out.
Yeah, I've never had the smartwatch, but I did delete Instagram and Twitter from my phone at one point. And for some reason, randomly, it's almost like I woke up again and I had them right in front of me. I mean, I went through the process of downloading them again and, you know, like signing up, forgot my password and all that, and just doing all that. But it was somehow too easy for me, or too tempting for me. I think because I was wondering what I was missing, and there are big events in the world and you want to know what people are saying about them and that kind of thing. And it's just, the phone is just sort of optimized for that kind of access. So I have to just kind of, I don't know what it is, but I do feel more motivated than ever to kind of just get away from that, and maybe have one time during the day to check my personal emails, or, you know, probably 5 or 10 times, but you know, it's better than what I'm doing now. Yeah.
Zach, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for asking. So my answer is similar to Bandrew's. So like the first like 4 months of the lockdown, quarantine, whatever, I tried to start doing like a lot more work and not giving myself enough time to like breathe. I really overworked myself, like doing video editing things and little like side projects with like the local film community. And the last 2 months I've slowed down from that a lot because I was getting way too stressed out. Like I wouldn't even want to like do the podcast for like an hour, which sucks because like the podcast is usually like the highlight of my week. And now like I enjoy it again because I'm not as stressed out. And but now it's to the point where I'm not doing enough work. So it's like kind of, I'm just being lazy now.
the rubber banding of everything.
Yeah.
The FOMO of technology and what it's created, from it going to being a tool to a tool we're using to amplify our voices, create, share, expand, connect, all those positive things. It's easily manipulated to get manufactured FOMO and feel like you have to have this thing. Because like I have a Fitbit and I'm like, I love it because it has health tracking, but none of the like notifications, I didn't add any of that. Like I just want to have a little bit of like, oh, I'm checking my paces and steps at work. I like that, but not having the constant connection and deleting social media seems to be the positive thing, which is this weird thing because we're all in these active communities and promoting and trying to grow and expand and get a viewership audience and build a community. You're asked to be on your thing all the time. And part of the love of creating is also having to sell yourself a little bit and bouncing back and forth. But it goes back to what Bandrew's saying, is being okay with your well-being coming first. And I think there's like a toxic word, like when we hear being selfish, it's this like toxic word at first. And I think it's because it's used that way, but it really is something you need to do sometimes. Because you can't, in the words of RuPaul, how can you love everybody else if you don't love yourself? So it comes back to, you needed to be okay and healthy, and then you can be that much better for everyone else around you.
Yeah. And another thing I learned too was it's like doing freelance work. You get offered like a lot of various like types of things, and I learned like I would just say yes to every job, and I stopped doing that because like I would be working on a lot of things that I really dislike for different reasons, whether it was like personal taste or like moral issues or
Yeah, and say we've talked about
That- that's one of the best things that any creative person can learn is when to say no, because you constantly think this is the last job I'm going to get offered. I'm going to say yes to it. I'm going to say yes to everything because who knows when the next one's going to be, without any concern for how that's going to affect your day-to-day life or the quality of your work. And, and I'm right there with you. I have finally gotten to the point where I just start saying, you know what? No, I don't want that. I can't. I won't be able to do it for a year. So no, just no.
Yeah, I used to be the exact same way, and I would say yes to every freelance gig that came my way because I think I thought of it as each gig was a paying opportunity, and it was connections to 10 other gigs that would kind of result from that, which it's always an exaggeration in your mind, but I always thought that it was the validation of like I got another job. That's the validation. The real validation is being able to say no, that you have what you can take on, and you're at the point where you're like, I can actually say no to this and get away from it. And, it's, you don't want to burn a client or anything like that, or a potential client, but it doesn't have to be like that anyway. It's not like they come expecting you, first time client, to say yes. You can say, well, I got a lot of stuff going on right now, but keep me in mind for future things. And I was always terrible at doing that, but yeah, it feels good finally being able to sort of convince myself that I can do that. Not because I have too much work, but because, I do need to reserve, kind of have some slack time for myself. And,
life as I think it said, can you succeed in YouTube without using any other social media app because you hate them all?
And let's expand that to podcasting as well.
Yeah.
Can you success in online content creation without having social media?
I think there's a couple of things to break down there. What do you define as success? That's the first thing you need to decide, is what you define as success, because that's the only way you're going to be happy anyway. Next is it's not about using or not. Like, we're talking about being healthy with using them, and we've all been conditioned to probably consume it way more than necessary. So it's reeling back, whether it's deleting completely, going cold turkey, deciding how you use your time on these things or where you want to spend energy. Because yes, they are built to feed off each other, and you want to grow a community. And it comes down to how much time, I think, personally, for me, this is how would I answer it. How much time do I want to spend putting energy into algorithms on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, hashtags, playing the game everywhere, versus connecting, commenting, interacting with people, or more importantly, the idea of your project, your podcast. What do you want out of the thing? It comes back to what is success for you. Is it getting $1,000 per month through this? Then get a job that pays you that. Because that's where the success is. Not. I think it just comes down to how you define that, and then deciding how to use things and finding a balance that is okay for you. Some people can use social media for thousands of hours and be okay. It's how you define it.
Yeah, and to add on that, I also want to point out that what SoundSpeed says, not to mention how much of your privacy you give away through social media. So there's twofold there that I want to touch on. There's obviously the company's just taking all of your information because you give it up to them. But the thing that I don't think a lot of people remember is you don't need to share everything about your life 24 hours a day. You can share one post a day saying, this is something amazing that I learned today. Hopefully it helps you. Something along those lines, as opposed to, I ate this today. I went here today. You don't need to share your entire life, and that will really help limit the amount of time you spend on there. Because if you're only posting one time, not only are you not going to be oversharing, but you're not going to be having this constant stream of posts that you want to check to see if people are liking them or reposting them or doing whatever with them. You just have that one idea you put out there, and then after a week or two, trains you just to post it and walk away.
Yeah, I dig that. And for, I guess if there are any Tourette's podcast people here wondering if I'm abandoning the social media stuff, no. It's mostly about limiting it, stepping away. I like the concept of limiting my options anyway, and I'm kind of increasingly a minimalist, I think, where, and it's not necessarily just like me getting rid of my possessions, but just kind of limiting what is in front of me. And I find that I feel better to do stronger work, especially being someone with the ADHD that I have. I do find it's empowering when I'm recording music or when I'm mixing a track, or you can audio edit to Kingdom Come, and like you can do a million little EQ edits and add another compressor and do all these things. And I wonder what this is going to sound like. But I mean, how many times do you do that? And you got this effects chain. And I guess I'm talking to the audio people here, but you have this effects chain with 16 plugins, and you just like deselect, 15 of them, and it sounds so much better. And
yeah.
And
Ben, is this an intervention that I didn't know was going to happen?
I mean, we're glad you came tonight. Yeah.
I have a letter I want to read.
Oh no!
Just limit your options, Andrew. Andrew, it's
okay.
No, it feels good. Like, talking seriously, it's just kind of downscaling and minimizing just kind of feels refreshing anyway. I don't know how long this is going to last, or if I'm going to like wave right back into this chaos of like wanting to know or wanting to be in the thick of things. But I guess that's fine if I do at some point. It's just knowing when to step away.
Heather, Zach, did either of you have anything? And then we'll move into something a little more fun.
That covered a lot of good stuff.
Okay.
One last thing that I'll add. It sounded like, Ben, you didn't want to commit to anything, and I think that's something, if anybody watching or listening to this is thinking, oh, if I delete this, then I'm going to miss out forever. It's not permanent.
Right.
You can deactivate your accounts and then reactivate them, and like nothing happened. You can just delete the app off your phone. Your accounts still exist. The companies are still trying to make as much money off of you as possible. They're not going to let that data go. So don't worry about that. It's still going to be there. You can just delete the app for a week, see how you feel. You do miss it, go back. And maybe through that week, you learned a little bit of coping mechanisms or coping techniques to deal with it sounds like it's a bad thing, having this extra free time. You'll find some new hobbies, some new interesting things to focus your energy on, as opposed to endlessly scrolling and getting infuriated because that's what the algorithm deems is the most valuable and profitable.
Yeah. Well, let's get a little off topic. What's everyone been watching? We have a little segment coming up I want to address, where it's our favorite videos from 2020. It'll be in December. It's gonna be our favorite things. But before that, let's just have a little fun. And what's everyone been watching? Speaking of consuming stuff that isn't social media.
Yeah. So I have another addiction besides social media, and that is buying movies and just buying stuff in general. I'm a terrible consumer. I bought the Ultimate Bond collection like a year ago, and I realized I had only ever seen the Pierce Brosnan 007s, and I hadn't even seen all of them.
Wow.
So I ended up watching the Daniel Craig ones, which I thought were pretty good. And then I rewatched the Pierce Brosnan ones. They are not very good. And then I finally went back and started at the beginning. And Dr. No, I get why Bond was popular, because Sean Connery was incredible. The first film in this series is incredible. I don't know what happened, but it started out amazing. And that's what I'm working through. It's a lot of fun.
How are you feeling on Roger Moore?
I haven't gotten to Roger Moore yet. I just watched Dr. No. So I need to go to From Russia with Love and then working my way up to Pierce Brosnan.
From Russia with Love is like my top 3.
I started watching it, and that's where the cat trope came from. All the supervillains are petting a white cat in their lap, and it comes from that movie. It's crazy.
Heather?
I've been watching motorbike road trips on YouTube so that I can learn how to do it better myself.
You got a motorbike?
Yep. Honda Goldwing, 1996, and
That's cool.
I'm not the driver. I'm just a passenger. But what I am doing is I'm the filmographer, the videographer. So I've got 2 GoPros and I've set them up and I'm capturing those journeys. And I wanted to do that so that last year I had an idea to do road trips and to get out and about. But this year, not being able to travel and do the big trip that I was going to do to come see you all in the States in May, I thought that I'd do some ones around New Zealand and share that with everyone who can't travel and get out and about. So yeah, I've been watching how other people have been recording their road trips on YouTube and then taking their tips and tricks and trying to do that better.
Have you watched Ewan McGregor's like bike riding documentary series?
Yeah, is there 3 of them or something? There's some.
Yeah.
I've started checking them out too.
Those are really fun. That like makes me want to ride a motorcycle, and then safety doesn't.
Absolutely.
It's a fine line between those two. That's really
we made
cool.
a selfie stick thing, and I was holding onto that, and I'm like, I don't know about this. I'd rather live than get photos
Just get, like, a little,
and
like,
footage
strap
of
or
the
Yeah, like a little strap or something.
yeah.
I've been watching. So Soundspeed's mentioned a couple of things that I also have seen. Raised by Wolves, the Ridley Scott HBO Max series. Subscribe now. It's only $11.99. Thanks HBO. You can send me money. Raised by Wolves is pretty cool. It seems like it's going to be probably tied to the Alien universe because that's what he does. Cobra Kai. Also watched that. Oh, it's a big ball of corn, but it's fun. I enjoyed watching and cringing at some of the dialogue, and watching every movie under the sun because I do a movie podcast with Zach. In fact,
What about hey Logan?
hey,
What
Hey.
about Spice World?
hey, what's up? Oh, yeah.
Have you been watching Spice World? Are you going to do an episode on Spice World?
Have you
Oh,
seen-
okay.
Because
I saw this
you
in my
like
notes.
Spice World, right?
Right, I saw this in my notes. Spice is a seed, fruit, root, bark, or plant substance primarily used for flavoring or coloring food. Yeah, I think I use spice. There is a whole world of spice. People have been known to say, "He who controls the spice controls the universe. Without change, something sleeps inside us and seldom awakens. The sleeper must awaken." Are you referring to? Is that right?
Right on the head. Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, Spice World. Classic. The capital THE. The classic movie. Yes, Spice World will be something we cover on the subject.
Nice.
Very excited.
With no peer pressure from other people in the network. None at all.
Oh, you know what? I would have let it go, but Soundspeeds just brought up Spice World was a movie starring the Spice Girls.
Oh yeah.
Give credit where credit.
There
that
it
must
is.
be what we were referring to.
Oh, okay.
must be
Yes.
it.
Yes. We will be covering that. So check out on the subject in the future episodes. Something also we keep track of, or I do for the podcast, is a list of movies I've watched this year, including rewatches. And Malcolm and Zach like to check in on me. So my current counter is 183.
Oh my goodness gracious!
It's like, but it's like one movie a day if you think about it. It just like by the end of the, it's fine. It's fine. I'm stuck inside.
Zach, what are you at?
I think I'm at like 135 now.
Okay,
Okay,
because
mine's a little higher.
last year you were kicking my butt.
Yeah, last year I did over 200. Can't remember what it was exactly. But yeah. I actually watched 2 movies last night to add to my list. I've just been going through and finding people's underrated horror movie lists. Just been watching those.
Okay, I have to ask.
Yeah.
What's your favorite horror movie that you've seen recently?
Recently? Oh gosh. I really liked Fantasy Island. It was really dumb, but it was a lot of fun.
Okay.
The remake?
The movie based off the show.
Oh my.
It's
Okay.
very bad.
Is that still in theaters or did that go VOD?
It came out right before quarantine, and now it's on
Andrew,
VOD.
Andrew, theaters don't exist anymore.
Oh,
I'm so sorry.
Relics of the past. And then Last night I watched The Strangers Pray at Night, which was okay. Like
That one's okay.
yeah, like I like that it's more it's like pop horror with like all the weird music choices, which was my favorite part. And then after that, I watched this movie called Triangle, which is like spoilers, like a time loop movie, which is pretty interesting.
That one's bizarre.
Yeah.
Both of those are fun.
In the chat, Cool Mark D says The Plane, which reminds me of the very funny like tying into the Fantasy Island show. It's worth watching just for that one scene.
Real quick, Soundspeeds, I believe you've been incepted to think you saw Tenet in theaters. It's not true. Christopher Nolan just told you and made you believe that you think about it. Did you really come up with that idea? Did it really? Do you remember The Room? It's an Inception reference.
Spin the top. Did I get that right?
You did.
You'll find out if you listen to Spice World on the subject.
Perfect.
Ben, what else?
Ben, what have you been watching?
So it's interesting you say Spice World. So because I've been working so much, I've been just kind of putting on movies in the background while I edit photos or cut up videos or things like that. And it's got to be a movie that I don't have to like pay deep attention to. So I've been just kind of like rewatching movies that I liked when I was a kid. So this is why I say it's interesting you say Spice World. Dune is a movie I watched, I think maybe 3 times a day when I was like 12 years old. And I loved it. And I've been watching it again, and I've been I watched part of the trailer for the remake that's coming out, and I think I'm feeling good about it. But I also have this fear, I think, because I have this like attachment. I read the book probably like 8 or 9 times too, and I'm a big Star Trek guy. I feel like I've talked with Andrew about this. I'm a big Star Trek guy, but I could not stand those like reboot alternate universe ones that like the Chris Pine ones that hit the theaters. Just something about I think the inelegance of them versus what they were working off of. And I'm worried that Dune is going to have some of these elements, being that it's, the way movies are made today, except there are heavy exceptions to the rule, and the people working on it, I think, are the right people to be doing it. But I've also, for that reason, not read up too much on it. So Dune, yeah.
Right.
That raises an interesting question that I want to ask everybody. What's the one movie that you can put on, you don't have to pay attention, but you know exactly what's happening?
I guess The Fifth Element is the first one I think of.
Oh, yes. That's great.
I know that
multi-pass.
That was multi-pass.
So good.
What about you, Heather? Do you have one?
Not that I can think of.
Logan?
Okay. What?
Big Daddy.
Big Daddy. So there's a
great choice.
There's a lot of any Adam Sandler movie that I watch way too much as like a 13-year-old bratty kid. Also, we watch probably 2-3 times a year the Lord of the Rings. We put that on, but unlike something I can put on, I'm like, yeah,
2 to 3 times a year.
Yeah. But it's folding your laundry, it's cooking dinner, it's going outside and watering the plants, but then you get back inside and you're like, what say you, and you gotta watch it.
I don't make enough power to just have videos running or movies running that I'm not watching and paying attention to. Like, I don't have stuff turned on most of the time.
What are you watching in
Americans?
Yeah, what are you watching in here then? What's like, you just playing your favorite quotes in your head?
Probably music more than movies.
Well, that's a great. What's everyone listening to? That's a great. That's another way to get off social media. Well-being, balance, work life, music.
I've been listening to a lot of Denzel Curry and Glass Animals lately, and like those specifically because like I can't remember when the song came out, but they have a song called Tokyo Drifting together, and that got me into
That's
it.
the only reason I know it is because of that.
Yeah. And then like I just went to this deep dive and just listened to every Denzel Curry like song I could find, and also the recent Gorillaz music, which has always like been my favorite.
Yeah, Gorillas have some magic where they continue to innovate, create, and collaborate. I love they're doing these Soundbox on YouTube releasing a single, but it's interesting because they're just tracks from the album. So some of them don't have the energy of a single. I'm like, that's like a re-listen one. Yeah, the Gorillaz this year has been really good. I was lucky enough before everything shut down, I got to see Orville Peck, which I just recently discovered at the end of last year. So I still listen to Orville Peck, and good, beautiful voice, and some like fun, like old time country vibes. Awesome. Yeah. What about you, Bandrew? What do you listen to?
I have not been listening to as much music as I should be, but I'll throw my phone on shuffle, and one band that comes on all the time that always brings a smile to my face is called Death Breath, and it's I think the drummer from Entombed. It's a Swedish death metal band.
Nice.
That's always fun. But then right after that, Phoebe Bridgers will come on, and that's the last full album that I listened to. Her latest album, I can't remember the name of it, but Phoebe Bridgers is incredible. And I went on a huge Chelsea Wolfe kick as well. So kind of gothy girls or women with breathy voices and this ethereal type of sound going on in the background. It's incredible. So that's really what I've been getting down with. So Swedish death metal and then like emo goth girls. I don't know.
Perfect. Yeah. Heather, music.
Yes. So Life as I Think It Said, their music studio runs on Solar, so they know the feeling about not having things running. But I transferred a lot of my CDs this year to my portable digital audio player thing, and it's been fun sort of revisiting CDs that I had from way back in the day and that nostalgia and stuff. But I also picked up a couple of new ones recently. Dermot O'Leary, he had some Saturday sessions where they're live exclusive sessions in the radio studio, and that was awesome to listen to those. And the Rat Pack is one that I picked up, which has 50 original recordings on it, and they'll been fun.
Ben?
The Rat Pack, that's amazing. Good pickup there.
Yeah, so I'm sitting in my, I guess, reconstituted studio right now. The air conditioning went out up here over the summer, and it's finally cooling down. And about a window unit, so I finally was able to move everything back up here. And part of it was, I guess, rebuilding the stereo system so I could listen to things while I was, kind of cleaning up and organizing, and going through a bunch of old CDs that I used to love and haven't listened to in a long time. But it's been a lot of, I guess, early 90s British stuff like the Faith Healers and Ride and Swerve Driver and bands like that. And then some garage rock stuff like the Mummies and then a lot of sort of, I guess, late 70s punk like Wire especially. But it's been fun. This is stuff I just haven't listened to in a long time. And so I've just been kind of burning through it.
We need a Ben music podcast.
Yes.
Because you just listed 12 artists that I have never heard of. And when we first started talking, you sent me a list of punk albums that I had to pick up, and I got them all. I don't know if I've listened to all of them, but some of them will come up on shuffle, and every single time I'm like, oh, Ben recommended it. That's fun.
Nice.
All right, so we're coming up on an hour. I just want to offer anyone in the chat to throw out some questions. Ben, music podcast when? Perfect.
Well, I think I just threw more work on your plate. Sorry.
I'll let you know.
He deleted Facebook. It's fine. No, yeah. Well, we maybe get some questions. Has anyone been reading? That's the other form of media. I'm sure. I think Bander's been reading how to fix a analog clock.
You're not wrong. I haven't been looking up the intricacies of fixing a 1980s. I can't even not Western Electric. I bought a new in-box 1980s alarm clock.
Smith and Wesson.
Yeah, well, that would startle you awake for sure. But that's what I noticed about the alarm clocks. Nowadays, all the alarms are just, we're going to slowly wake you up, put you in a great mindset. But the 80s one it just startles you out of bed. It's like, get the hell up because you got crap to do. And it's a completely different feeling. You wake up with so much anxiety, but it wakes you up.
Just Foreigner blasting in your ears. You know?
Oh, it's not even music. It's just a buzzer.
Yeah. Oof.
But reading. I've been reading Essential Survival Guide from Popular Mechanics. Just a bunch of like 3-page articles about how to survive hurricanes and how to prep for hurricanes and what to avoid in hurricanes and how to can food in hurricanes and all the other stuff as well.
So you're preparing for a hurricane, it sounds like.
And I don't live near an ocean.
Or do you, internet?
Yeah.
Or do you live next to all the oceans?
Or am I
No,
the
that's
ocean?
me. No, I'm just kidding.
I know, Heather. Heather, what have you been reading?
I've been reading Matthew Riley. I've mentioned this before, but there's a new book coming out. So he's done lots of books, and this is one of a series. So the 3 Secret Cities. The next one is number 2, and he's been counting down from 7. So I'm excited I sort of caught up on the series so that I'm ready for the new one when it comes out.
Awesome. Yeah, you make me want to read the books you're reading because I don't read real books. I read comics. And you're always reading, and yeah. So I'm gonna have to get a read list from you. And in case I see a hurricane coming, I'll
Yeah, can I recommend this? Because there's a lot of pictures and drawings.
Oh,
Look,
cool.
Here's 2 pages. Look how one page is a picture.
There's a lot
It's
of tiny
perfect
font on
for
that
you.
one. That was pretty intimidating. There's a lot of tiny font on that one.
They have drawings.
What? Is that spice? What's that?
So kind of like a comic book, but more doomsday-ish.
Perfect. Zach.
I've been reading a lot of Elmore Leonard books because I started watching Justified again.
Yes, Justified.
So I read Swag and I read Pronto. Pronto is one of the Raylan Gibbons books. Then the most recent book I finished was In Cold Blood by Truman Capote, which I'd never read before, and it's great. And actually, on my upcoming list is one of the books that Heather recommended to me, which was the 7 Deadly Wonders, I think it's called.
Yay.
Yeah. That's the next thing I'm gonna read.
Awesome. Ben, books.
I've been doing a lot of photo books more than anything lately, just kind of zoning out with just looking at images and a lot of the classics, Joel Meyerowitz, Bruce Davidson, Daido Moriyama, William Eggleston. I've been more on the color photography side of things lately. So like vintage color photography has just really been speaking to me. And so if I read anything, it's the title.
It's good enough for me. With the photography, is it like being able to study the photos, especially like you're saying vintage ones, and then seeing how maybe you could apply those techniques digitally to your photography?
So
or just inspiration?
More just, I think, kind of looking at things that are maybe a bit different than what I do, and maybe not really what I'm going for initially. And sometimes that stuff just kind of like bleeds into you, and you end up just kind of producing stuff like that. And I guess I've been careful not to just take somebody's style or try somebody's style, like keep doing my own thing. But, you know, it's like the more different things you look at, the more is going to bleed in and kind of influence you. There's almost no way around it. But it's also fun just to look what people were, I guess, capable of with cameras back in, you know, like the 50s, just saw lighter and just really, really sharp, robust, vibrant color photography that looks like it was taken today. And it's stuff that's 50, 60 years old. And it's not like they've remastered it or recolorized it or anything like that. It's as it used to be. And it's neat to see that.
Counseling.
how was that? Maybe this is too in the weeds. Maybe we should do this offline. But how is that accomplished? Because a lot of the stuff from the 50s is so much more muted. Did the photographer just photograph stuff that was freshly painted and extremely bright? Did they have to use special lenses, special film, special filters?
The film, the filters definitely make a difference too. So lenses that are like the higher quality lenses are just going to handle color and optics in general better. You'll get sharper images, but the film too. So my grandfather, I'm actually going through a project right now. He was a photographer, and he did a lot of street photography too. And I'm scanning his old negatives and slides, and I'm going to try to make a book out of it to give my family members, that kind of thing. But there's so much vibrant photography, and I have some old rolls of, actually this is a roll of Kodachrome, which you can't develop anymore, but it was the best looking film back in the day. Just Kodak doesn't support it anymore. So it gives you these, I guess, these just robust, nice, warm colors. If there's something like Ektachrome, that's another film where it's maybe a little bit cooler, and the older the film gets, the cooler the colors kind of look. So yeah, a lot of it is intentional decisions. And my grandfather was, I guess, very faithful to Kodachrome. Most of the stuff he shot was on it. So, but yeah, if that answers your question, yeah.
Yeah. And Mark says here, you'd be surprised how good the film was. You might think it's muted because the prints are older, but Kodachrome is a notable slide film that was vibrant. Okay.
Wow. Hurricanes and cameras. That's all I need to know. That's cool.
Focus. I promise this is Kodachrome.
I believe you. There was another question. Can we expect more? Yeah, that would look at right there. Can we expect more Geeks Rising cross features? Heather was actually on Resident Evil when we covered that on the subject. But can we get more people on Stuck Listening in season 2? The answer is please. The answer is please.
Yeah, the answer is yeah, just send me a script. I'm happy to be part of it, but we know who you want. The voice. You want the voice.
The voice. I want Ben on the show so bad.
Please, Ben, come on his show.
I was going to wait till we ended the recording and I say, Ben, please. Yeah, I would love to have everyone from Geeks Rising pop in. And that's why it was really cool getting to collaborate with Zach doing writing and having Heather lend a voice. I would love to get Malcolm and Andrew, just any one of the many characters. I mean, people you've had on your Bandrew Says podcast. I would love to have any one of the characters you might know. Yeah, I would love to collaborate. I also like the idea of hopping on each other's podcasts and getting when it feels natural or it makes sense. Yeah. Also, let's see. Yeah. Well, there's Steal Like an Artist. Also, there's just the mentality of you sound like everyone else before you sound like yourself. It's something when you're writing, creating, like it's what I was taught in high school during writing classes was you're going to sound like a lot of people before you sound like yourself. So it's not good artists copy, great artists steal, etc. Yeah, Heather. What? Oh,
sorry. You go ahead and ask Heather.
Going through. Oh, okay. Heather,
What's up?
would you like to be on the show
Yeah.
again? Yes, cool. I'm just making sure everyone wants to be on it. I also wanted to cut to our last, what we have been excited about, like our favorite thing so far, because we're gonna do a YouTube feature in December, but I think we all have some favorite things right now.
Yeah, so real quick teaser. We were planning on just doing favorite things of 2020, but we wanted to put
It might be a good idea to do it more frequently so we don't feel like shit.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that may be the first time Heather has publicly said shit. But
It's crazy. My ears didn't even
Clip
register.
that. No, but it's so we have videos starting this Friday, and then there's going to be at least 2 more after that. So for the next 3 weeks, and then I think Logan's going to be submitting one. And then hopefully we can get Zach and Malcolm to also submit their favorite things for the month. And then in October, I have to put one out because I love Halloween way too much. It's weird. But yeah, we have a YouTube series coming out where we just share 3 or 4 of our favorite things for a certain month. At the end of the year, we'll do our favorite things of the entire year. So that's something to look forward to. But as far as stuff that's our favorite right now, I'll just say watches. That's what I'll say. I have a serious addiction. I got a Seiko watch, and I love this thing because it's affordable and they're automatic, and you can just see the movement in the back, and you can't even see it on this camera, but it's just really cool seeing it just jiggle around and wind itself up. And I'm really enjoying picking up different styles of watches and feel like a grandpa with little things on my wrist. So that's my favorite thing so far this year, probably.
Heather, what's one of your favorite things so far? And a little tease for the video.
I kind of cheated and had like my third one is lots of different things that are nature related. And then I added a bonus at the end. So that's all I'll say.
Oh, okay. I also, I just want to say I thought it was a great idea in our chat, bringing up the idea of doing a favorite things at the end of the year, getting to reflect and find something positive, and then suggesting that we do it monthly. I mean, even if we weren't doing videos, it's a really positive thing because 2020 has been a little extra stressful for X, Y, and Z reasons. But also, even if it wasn't, it's, I think, really great just to stop and like remember what you appreciate. Remember the things you've done, things you've gotten, the things you're excited about, things that are making you happy, inspiring, etc. So I thought that was a really great idea, and then be able to share that with each other, so we can either maybe I'll get into watches or hurricanes or something, and like you sharing your books. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember the last time you mentioned like reading those books. I was like, I should read more words. Yeah, so thank you. I'm glad that we have this going on. Zach, what's
So I guess off the top of my head, one of my favorite things this year that I didn't really use last year was Discord, but specifically because I've been playing so many party games online, and it makes this quarantine so much better. Like it's
what party games have you been playing?
Various Jackbox games. I just started playing Among Us, which is not like a party game, but it's like up to 10 players, and it's really big on Twitch now for some reason.
Yeah.
And also, there's one I played last week that I can't remember the name of, but basically it's like a Jackbox game, but you get like a clip from a foreign film, and then you have to like fill in the subtitles yourself. It gets pretty funny if you're with the right people.
Getting to play Jackbox with Heather and like Geeks Rising and everything, the one night I did it was so much fun, and those are the weird games that you learn how people think. And it's really fun because you're playing to make other people laugh and yourself, and you learn a lot about your friends and collaborators. Yeah, Heather, that was really fun playing with Jackbox.
Yeah.
Ben, what's something you're excited about right
now? So the video that's coming up, I think there's nothing that really tops what's in that video. And it does represent a lot. Well, I can say it in kind of a generic way. I was always allergic to, I guess, most things when I was a kid, cats, dogs, all kinds of, something happened over the past maybe year and a half, 2 years where I got an update on my allergy tests. You know, that thing where they like draw the grid on your forearm and they give you like different allergens.
You play like tic-tac-toe on your back and stuff.
Yeah. Whatever bumps up. And if you get 3 in a row. And so cats were not as big of a deal. So before the quarantine, like basically the day before the quarantine in North Carolina started, I went to the shelter and got a cat, and he's the most relaxed, chill thing ever. And this is sort of part 1 of my story, I guess. And I promise it's not like a generic cat story. There's something more to it. Other than that, though, I had never watched The Sopranos back in the day. And I think the way I kind of operate, I guess, is like when there's something that has so much hype, I kind of like wait for that to go away, and I'll watch it 10 years after the fact or something like that. And because I feel like I need to watch it on my terms versus somebody else's. And so about through season 2, and it's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. I mean, I think back in the day, I used to work in these clubs and like checking IDs and bar backing, and there are a lot of tough guys who work there, like bouncers and people like that, and they thought it was like based on living it through them, I thought it was some like tough guy show, and I wasn't interested. And now it's like comedic poetry or something. It's so good.
Oh, nice. Okay. Well, yeah, I'm excited for the Cat podcast, the Band podcast, Hurricane podcast by Bandrew.
Okay.
I'm just trying to make sure we cover the bases here.
Talking watches, talking hurricanes, talking bands with Ben. Kind of got a little alliteration. Talking cats with Ken. We'll call you Ken for that. I don't know why. How could we make gaming with Zach?
Zach's back with the game attack. Boom, nailed it.
There you go. Perfect. This is why we have you.
So I haven't made my video, and it's not going to be in the video, but I got a tortoise this year from a coworker. People on social media have already seen our little tortoise, and our tortoise is the king of horses, and by that I mean, of course, it is Shadowfax from Lord of the Rings. It's
the best name.
Gandalf's horse, the king of horses. Also, so it's obviously the most fastest tortoise ever made. No, it's this cute little 4-year-old desert tortoise, and I'm very excited to have her roaming around in our backyard, just munching on stuff. So maybe I'll add that as a little bonus, little clip of Shadowfax with some like music from Lord of the Rings playing.
Demonetized.
I'll do it. I'll make it with my own lips. I'll like make the sound.
Okay, perfect.
Bum, bum, dun, dun.
That'll make it 10 times better.
Is there any closing comments? Lord of the Rings.
Closing comments. Just I thank all of you in here for being a part of the network. It's always amazing hanging out, and it's an honor to know all of you and get to hang out with you guys, because you guys are awesome. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm so glad to be a part of this show and network and getting to do these things, and hopefully we continue just to share more. I was gonna get a swan and name it Fly Away Home. Is that the name of that movie?
Sorry.
Or I could get like a dog and name it the Balrog. I like other things other than Lord of the Rings. Anyway, moving on. Side tangent. Heather, any closing comments, like what you got going on and how people can continue to follow you?
Just thank you for all of your support over the last year, which has been rough, and not putting any extra pressure that I didn't need, but just being there and being really kind and giving me this space. Like I mentioned this week for Mental Health Awareness Week, it's been brought up today about being in communities and being in places and using things that you feel you're capable of doing and not that don't suckle your time and that kind of thing. And so it's just amazing to be part of this and to have your support and to be able to chat with you and share what's happening. So thank you.
Ben, where people can follow your cat facts and just your story in between seasons.
So Instagram is at Ben Brown Multimedia. That's where I post mostly photography, and but then in the Instagram stories, there's a lot of cat content, I guess. At Tourette's Pod on Twitter. There's a discussion group for Tourette's Podcast on Facebook. Shout out to Sophia, who admins that. We got another approval of funding for 2 more seasons from the Tourette Association, so that's great. Like, they're sponsoring the show, and I mean, they're awesome.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I'll leave it at that.
And Zach, when you're back with your game attack, how can people follow you? How would people be able to follow you when you do inevitably launch that?
On every social media platform, I'm at Boss Ross Jackson, all one word. And I don't post a lot, but sometimes I'm there, so you might find me.
And
what about you, Logan?
Hey, you can spice up your life by following me on the internet at that Logan. That's why it was my name in the chat. That Logan on the interwebs. Stuck Listening, we launched a podcast this year. It was just a wild kind of tornado of a podcast, and I'm so excited to share it. So if you go check that out, follow that. As always, I think it's important that if you are enjoying what you listen to, and if you're enjoying all of us, just go share it with people. That's more than social media, more than anything, just sharing it and talking and communicating with each other. That's the community we want to build. I'm so excited to be part of the Geeks Rising Podcast Network, and everyone in the chat's been great and fun, and I love you all. So thank you. Please go check out geeksrising.com.
Alrighty. We'll talk to y'all
Thanks, y'all.
later. Thank you so much.
Bye.